Good evening from Phnom Penh. It's time for episode 20 of the Cambodia VR Project podcast. And I got to start off by saying I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I rode the Khmer Magic Music Bus today, and it was a lot of heat, a lot of Cambodia. I enjoyed it, but it took the mickey out of me. This is my second ride on the bus. First time, I could have sworn there was air conditioning. I mean, it wasn't like awesome, but there was air conditioning. This time there wasn't. And, you know, when we're cruising along on the highway, you can open up the windows and there's a, breeze comes in. That's kind of nice. But the whole point of the Khmer Magic Music Bus is to take Khmer music, Khmer instruments, out to the villages where there are people who haven't heard that music for a generation. It delights the kids. I mean, this big blue bus with instruments painted on it pulls up into the school, and a bunch of people pile out with their instruments, and pretty soon they're playing, and all of them have a good way of working a crowd, and the kids, just have a great time. Both trips I've taken begin at the school that way. It's just a high. And then move on to someplace in the village, usually someplace where there's food available, and have a little meal and perform then for the village. That's where the older people show up. Today, there was a really old lady. I mean, it's hard to say given things that she's been through in her life, I'm sure, to be able to estimate her real age. But in any event, she was there, and she was, toothless, grinning along and being really happy when we pulled in. And I was told at some point later on that, again, I've heard it before, she hasn't heard these instruments since her childhood, and she remembered them, and it just made her feel so good. And it just so happened that I think Sema found out about some local guy. I never know how things work with Sema and the whole bus. We were driving along. We'd been going out of Phnom Penh, for at least 3 hours south of the city, and then we took, I guess you could call it a road, a single track dusty thing off the main highway, National Road 1, and rode on it for a long time. Now that's when, first of all, back to the issue of no air conditioning, you can't have the windows up. At least if you do, you get a lot of dust. So, what are you going to do? Breathe dust or not have any breeze and no air conditioning? That's okay. It's just, you got it. This is how it is. But if you can't, you got to know ahead of time that this is essentially going to be, the baseline reality. And if it gets great, like there is air conditioning and other things, you scored a home run, but don't count on it. But along that dusty track somewhere, we sort of stopped and pulled in. I never know why they do these things. A young man joined us, so apparently some local guy, nicely, well presented. He looked he was a young, probably 12, 15 years old, somewhere in there. But, very just nicely turned out, and had a nice shirt on, and was carrying a chapé. And we didn't have Sam Nang, the guy who had just completely captivated me playing the chapé before. And so anyway, why I circled around and got the dust and the chapé and the young man and the whatnot is that he was the grandson of that lady. She was the oldest lady there in the village in the audience, and so and just was full of smiles and so happy. And he was her grandson, and he had gone to Phnom Penh to learn through CLA how to play that instrument, that traditional long neck guitar, kind of sounds like Mississippi Delta blues type of playing instrument. And there's a distinctive free association singing style that goes along with it. She had never heard him do that. I guess she knew he had learned how to play it, but he then at one point just performed for her. And it was just quite a remarkable thing, and that I'll just sort of put a little frame around that as the emotional high point of the day. And then to put that, I guess, in a bigger frame, it wasn't easy. That was where I started this whole podcast, and it wasn't easy from the very beginning. We were supposed to meet at Cambodian Living Arts at 8 o'clock. Be picked up on the bus. It would all work out. We'd drive, and everything would work out. Well, it didn't. I got there at 8. I did it, and but other people in the bus. Sema was there too. Sema, she's just, you can count on her, but if there's other variables beyond her control. And yeah, I don't want to point fingers or anything, but traffic. Well, but traffic is predictable. There's always awful traffic here, and so maybe it could have been done a different way or whatnot. But this is the way that it went, and I waited here and waited there, and I had just my son and daughter-in-law are in a waiting posture involving moving and big other life changes. And I had just the other night written an email to my daughter-in-law about waiting, and I referenced the great Robert Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land, Valentine Michael Smith. Waiting is just one of those things of life. We spend so much time at it. You think that there would be courses in it, that you'd learn how to do it better and whatnot. But no, we don't learn how to do it better. We tend to think of it as just something to get through with various degrees of, frustration or anxiety associated with it. I certainly have my battles with waiting. I think my worst is shorter term waiting. When I thought something was going to take just a minute and it takes 10 minutes, it makes me nuts. Why should it do that? There was 9 minutes at stake there. Who cares? But it's a problem. I'm trying to get better. I think I am getting better. Well, today was a real waiting thing. I mean, I waited at CLA, and then she said, okay, so we'll go out to the corner, and the bus is going to be coming by in like 15 minutes. And well, waiting out on the corner in Cambodia, Phnom Penh, now it's not early. I mean, it's like 8:30 now, but it's hot already, really hot. And I don't like to stand out in the hot at that point. And I did, trying to be waiting and to see this as a spiritual experience of waiting. And but nothing happened in 15 minutes. And there's a place nearby where I could go inside and be comfortable. And I did that. And so it wasn't so bad. The physical parts weren't so bad at that point. But still, the waiting, I was like, whatever. At some point, I called Sema. Fortunately, I'd done something that allows me to have a telephone that I can use. And I called Sema and I said, I don't know what's happening or not. I'm into this. It's gonna happen. Okay, I get it. I'm coming no matter what. But I'm just gonna go back to my room now. And when the bus is 5 minutes away or something, call me, and then I'll just come and we'll go. That's what happened. I went back to my room and I kind of laid down a little bit. I was tired already. I didn't put the number on it. 2 hours actually went by in the waiting in the hotel and out on the corner and back at CLA. And it was 10 o'clock by the time I got back to my place. And then I got the call. I did get the call at 10:30. It took me 5 minutes to get my act together, and the bus was there. I came out our little street, and right there on Sotheros Boulevard was the bus. And it saw me or something and pulled over, and I got on it. And I just don't know how these things happen, but we took off. The traffic was still bad, so, I mean, there's not that many bridges over the rivers, but mostly the Mekong River in Phnom Penh. But so they're really important because it's developing fast. It's developing on both sides of all the rivers that are here, and they need more bridges. But and we had to cross more even to get out of town. And so, but I guess what she did, instead of an arrival sometime around a little before lunchtime, it was going to be a late afternoon arrival at the school, and she called him and told him, and eventually we got underway and the drive began, and now we're sort of like I left you off earlier. We drove down National Highway 1, the famous National Highway 1, for a good 3 hours, and then pulled off onto that dusty road as I described, and had our adventures. And I went right to the grandma, the emotional high point, but the school is where we went first, as I said, and that was a complete repeat performance. Well, not exactly. It was a repeat performance of the one that I experienced before, in the sense that we, pulled in. It was just this new wonderful sensation, and 200 kids come streaming out, and we're just surrounded, just engulfed in kids. And they did some playing, and I put my 360 video camera in, and I learned a little bit. I tried to, run it only so long, and then just turn it off, let it rest, and do it some more. I think it's okay. I am so tired now. I haven't even checked the videos. I think they worked out okay. Maybe they're amazing. I don't know. One thing that happened this time that I hadn't seen the time before was they were kind of in just a fun and entertaining way, instructional. They would play an instrument, and the kids would kind of dig it, and then they would talk about the parts. It was all in, Khmer, so I didn't know, but they're going, this is the da 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 da, and have the kids repeat it. And then later on, they actually brought out those instruments and said, anyone want to come up and remember? If you can remember what these is, we'll give you a little present. And kids volunteered, and they came up and they remembered, and they got their little present. So I hadn't seen that kind of interactive bit. Also, there was two other kind of performances. One of them, I guess, was traditional Khmer form of dance, but it was gymnastic. It used the kind of beautiful finger and arm and flowing sort of motion that I associate with Khmer dance, but also very acrobatic and just like turning over and splits and quite extraordinary things right there on some mats that they laid out, all part of just being entertainers. And then there was another young woman who hadn't been on the first trip also, who did a thing with hula hoops. I mean, I don't know, traditional Khmer hula hoops. Maybe if I'll go and look really carefully in Angkor Wat and I'll see people using hula hoops. I don't know, but to the best of my knowledge, it's not there. But she did it, and she was really good. I mean, there's probably world championship people, who are another level beyond her, but she was, she was good. Could do it on both, have them going on both arms and on legs and, flip them up and catch them, and wow, just impressive. Also asked for anyone in the audience who wanted to try, and a young man tried to hula hoop with her and did okay, but, just got everybody laughing. Just, that's entertainment. I mean, it was really entertainment stuff. From the entertainment, a little bit of, instruction in what these traditional Khmer instruments are all about, and then to the village center where we had a meal. It was kind of like an early dinner instead of lunch. That had been the original plan. And it was, the real deal, just a bunch of rice and some sauces. And when they say chicken, it's not like pieces of chicken as I would imagine it. It's chicken stuff, I'll just say. And but you put it together and it all tasted good. In fact, my stomach's been a little on edge the past couple of days. It feels better than it has in a while at the moment, so we'll see how long that lasts. And then a long drive back in the dark. Good going, Descartes. I really give him a lot of credit because it's demanding driving. He had to retrace his steps on that dusty little narrow track road. And if you get behind someone, you just get behind them. And sometimes they'll pull in when there's a chance. Or it's just a hairy sort of thing. And then all the way up National Highway 1, back to Phnom Penh. And back to my apartment at YK Art House. That was the day. It started at 8 a.m. and it ended, I got back here about 8 p.m. Some of those hours were unnecessarily spent in waiting, but that's how the day played out. It was a happy day. It was my second, the first time was just transcendent. I knew what the Khmer Magic Music Bus did, but until you experience it and see those kids and whatnot, it took it to a new level. The second time, now what? Now the initial amazing first time wowness of it is over. But there was still a substantial wow factor and emotion factor and this is the right thing to be doing factor. It just seems so right to be doing. Taking this music out to young people and old people the way that it's being done here. So I think I'd like to continue to be part of it in some small way that I can, given the way where I live and where my life is and all those kind of things. Some kind of a connection has definitely been made. I want to keep it going, and I think I might have recorded some very nice material today too. And it could just be that it will be used sooner than we think in VR installations right here in River City. So that could be happening. I hope it does. And that seems like a good place to say for episode 20, Phnom Penh, Cambodia, Tom Nickel. Bye for now.